It was good, yo. It's your man, the Bigga P, and just finished watching the premiere of was the premiere boxing championships champions on NBC. Um, Overall, in terms of what I liked about it, I like pretty much. I did like the presentation. I did like the whole outlook and the whole layout of everything. But that's where it ends right there. Now, there are a couple things that I do think that needed a little work. First of all, the generic entrance music. I mean, I know this is network TV. I know this is primetime TV, but that generic music that you hear, like say if you ever played WCW NWO Revenge, that generic music that they come out to, that shit was not cutting it at all. I didn't think that had any flavor. Um, Two, pretty much every personality, with the exception of maybe Al Michaels, was a little bit dry, a little bit, they weren't on their A game, so to speak. But I realize it's the first, this is the first of the this is the first of an eventual, was it 19 or 20 cards or whatever. Not going to be like this for NBC. So there's always room for improvement. But I felt like the whole thing could have been enhanced a little bit more if the announcers and everything were on their A game, or more of them were on the A game. Um, well, okay, so I guess okay, I'll get to the fights. The first fight was Adrien Broner versus John Molina Jr. Now, this fight originally, prior to this, I had it pegged as an upset alert, due to what happened with Broner at the weigh-in. He weighed in at 141, and originally, of course, I was a little angry about it because one of the things I never liked about Broner, this is the thing that keeps me not a fan of Broner, is his lack of discipline. So when he went at 141, I'm like, okay, spend 2 hours in the sauna, do whatever, take a dump or whatever, and then lose your pound. And then of course he didn't end up doing it because there was some sort of hidden clause in his contract, because it was a non-title fight. That, oh yeah, 140 plus one, you know, and that I thought that was some bullshit, because I'm like, you're just enabling, you just turned this into a pretty much a catchweight fight when it shouldn't be. And from what I understand, that also changed the fight from 10 rounds to 12, which is good, because I thought that was personally, I think Broner should be fighting 10 rounds at this point. It should be a 12-round fight. Um, the fight itself was disappointing. Now, if you're trying to jump off a series like this, and I know Al Heyman was probably looking at these two to actually create some sort of fireworks. This was a disappointment of a fight. Not in the aspect with not with Broner. Broner did what he had to. Broner boxed him pretty much and didn't really take too many chances. Not even in the 12th round, where he pretty much got on his bike and didn't even bother to to actually try to finish the fight, or at least But he did what he had to do. And considering that I didn't think that I thought he'd be too dried out to actually do, or we wouldn't have the energy to even do so. I was impressed that he still was able to, at least, he did what he did. Molina, however, disappointed me. Now, I'm starting to think more and more that the fight with Matisse was an anomaly, and Lucas Matisse is one of my favorite fighters to watch. Because he seemed like he was just either. So I mean, since that fight, I mean, it seemed like he regressed. I don't know if maybe just the beating he took from Lucas was enough to start setting him off onto the slide. Because I mean, he didn't look good against Soto, and he didn't look good against Broner. Like, pretty much, it was just all he was doing was just trying to load up with one punch. I mean, he didn't throw a jab, he didn't throw a combination, none of that stuff. He just tried to hit Broner with just one punch, and you're not gonna get out. Now, Broner has a good enough chance. You're not gonna get him out with one punch, with one wild punch where you can see him coming, he's just doing best, and then his head his head was lowering into to his midsection. I mean, just pure telegraphing of these shots, and it was annoying to watch, because I'm like, just use a jab. I mean, do something other than just do all these, start reacting. I mean, he was saying he was doing all this, reacting to every single feint that Broner was doing. It was annoying. I was like, It was like this guy. I mean, he looks terrible. Um, and I mean, I was hoping that maybe at the end that maybe Molina was just would actually get himself back on track and actually try to do something. But yeah, he was just too far gone by the later rounds. And then, like I said, Broner played safe, but I wanted him to actually make at least at least put an impression, put a exclamation on this fight, say at least hurt him or at least knock him down something. But fortunately, that did not happen. But yeah, it was like a clear. I think maybe only gave Molina one round. So so kudos to Broner for actually boxing. Um, I just hope now going forward that he makes his weight commitments. So we don't have another situation with what happened with with him training to lose weight, and then you have another Maidana situation going. As for Molina, I mean that's three straight losses in a row. Um, Most likely, I would imagine that his next fight will probably either be on Showbox or Friday Night Fights or something like that. You see that because I just don't like he has. I mean, I just don't see him getting another big fight anytime soon. So I mean, he's a good guy, but I was just I was looking more. I mean, he was over there in the interviews talking about that. Oh, I thought Broner was going to trade. No, you don't expect Broner's going to trade. Broner boxed. That's what he did. He boxed and he made you look foolish. That's what he did. You didn't adjust or you didn't want to adjust. You didn't listen to your corner. That's what happens. You get beat. You got boxed. So the main event, however, whoever redeemed this event in spades, um, Keith Thurman versus Robert Guerrero. Now now I'm not a big Guerrero fan, and so I wanted one time to actually put in work and actually take him out, and he almost did in the ninth round when he put him down. Um, the problem was, the problem was that Keith gasped, but I'll get to that point. But pretty much from the opening bell, it just seems like Thurman just had the better variety of punches. I mean, he had the most interesting. I mean, the more effective combination of leading punches, the leading punch, especially that straight right where he was just hammering Robert with. Um, and Robert was just maybe. I mean, although it was game, very game, was just a little bit step too slow, and just couldn't really handle the power and the speed and the unorthodox like lunges that Keith was doing, which brings me to the ninth round. And Keith tried his damnedest to actually put him away, and he almost did too. But the problem was he gassed, and and he's done this before. In a fight that went 12, his activity just goes down. He just gassed, and that allowed Guerrero to try to come back in the fight and try to win this. Which of course that won over the crowd, won over everything, and he tried his hardest. And I mean, he muscled Keith who had a 10-pound functional advantage. And he tried, he tried to put damage on him, but it's like, you gotta give yourself some room, which he didn't, to actually be effective, because that wasn't gonna happen. And I think that Keith gassing the way he did probably stopped Guerrero from actually getting knocked out, because that a knockout should have occurred. Um, he should have gone, if not the ninth round, if not, he should have gone out in the 10th round. He should have actually gone out. So, but yeah, and then Thurman being gas kind of took some of the flavor out of the fight near the end, as he was just doing a lot of movement around, wasn't really engaging. This wasn't trying to, wasn't really trying to effectively, trying to finish Guerrero off. While Guerrero, however, showed heart, and he tried to all the way to the end. So the fight. I mean, Thurman won it wide, but that's the type of fight that you need to have in WC to jump things off, and almost made me forget how boring the Broner Molina Jr. fight was. So kudos to both of them. It was excellent effort, and hopefully, we'll probably see them on NBC cards in the near future. I mean, Thurman, I can only imagine that they're probably going to be saying, oh, Thurman should probably face the Floyd winner. Or hell, even put him against Brook. But then he does have that interim title of his, which I'm pretty sure, like I said, if Floyd ever gives up those belts or World Cup, then he's the full champion. Guerrero, like I said, it's tough. I mean, tough guy. I mean, like I said, the only thing that's really effective at his division is he has a chin. But yeah, the power just wasn't enough. He couldn't hurt him, and it's going to be something that's going to. And this is not the first time. This is I said this in the fight and in his welterweight fights, and he's going to have to be. I mean, with the exception, of course, of Andre Berta, who he did hurt. Um, Third, I would tread very for Guerrero. I would tread very carefully around 147. Um, because like I say, cause the guy, I mean, he'll help, but I mean, unless he boxes, but it seems like his power is just not there at that weight at all. So, right now, I think Abner Morris is doing a swing belt. I'm not gonna really report on that, because, well, that's another thing too. I don't understand why they're having a swing or undercard belt near the end of the at the end of the card. This is not like UFC. I mean, this should have been at least it could have been a good opener. Because from what I'm watching off the side on my side eye, it's actually a pretty decent fight. But I'm not gonna really review on it or have an opinion on it because I think that fight should have been ended by now. But yeah, so I know the next one is in 5 weeks. It'll be Danny Garcia versus Lamont Peterson in a catchweight fight because they don't want to put their titles on the line for whatever reason. I don't understand it. But at least we have Andy Lee, who's not afraid to actually put his middleweight title up on the line against Peter Quillen. So hopefully that should be. I mean, I would expect. So that should be a good card. So yeah, and of course next week we also have the Kovalev Pascal card, I believe. So until next weekend. All right, peace.